Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. This week is Global Entrepreneurship Week, so we're very excited to be celebrating Durham Region's own celebration of Global Entrepreneurship Week, and we are now in our 11th year. So Do It in Durham Week is a collaboration of Durham's business support, educational, and networking organizations who have come together to encourage and support entrepreneurs, job creators, and innovators who create economic growth in Durham region. So if you're looking to start a business, invest in a business, grow a business, we encourage you to do it here in Durham region. We do have many great sponsors, and without them, we would not have been able to put this event on. This event is also in partnership with the town of Whitby. So thank you. They are one of our premier sponsors. So thank you so much for that. And feel free to share your experiences and to help raise awareness and visibility that you are open for business in Durham region, a thriving business community. And feel free to drop your information in the chat, get to know one another, and any questions, put them in the chat as well. And without taking up too much more time, I will hand it over to Darryl from Digital Main Street.
Sorry, guys. I'm very much not used to only using one screen. So I'm moving you guys around. I'm Zoom controls, presentation, all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys. Ashley, thank you, and the BACD team. Thank you, everyone. I don't have the list, but everyone who's involved in making this week happen. I know that I learned very recently, there's 51 events this week, and I'm just a pleasure to be a part of it. And thank you guys for joining me tonight and letting me ramble about a topic that's, it can be pretty fun, but we're going to talk about, a bit of the serious side of it. Normally I say, let's do questions throughout, like very, very informal. Let's have a conversation. I'm still going to say that, but I'm going to put a little like asterisk disclaimer that it's kind of hard for me to look at the chat just because I only have one screen right now. So I will do my best to periodically poke my head in. And Ashley, if there's any that stand out, just feel free to interrupt me and,
Yeah, for sure. I'll raise my hand when there's questions.
Oh, no. That's the second rule. No raising the hands and things. Just anyone come off mute, ask a question. It's just because you're the first person I can see.
Oh, okay.
We'll make it very easy. We'll have some fun, guys. We'll walk you through kind of what we're going to talk about today. So I'll introduce myself, I'll introduce Digital Main Street, and then we've really broken it down into a few things here. So, understanding this technology called generative AI, looking at some of its potential for small business, looking at some tools you can consider. I'm going to apologize. That section has moved down, so it's not number 4. Random use cases, probably my favorite section in the entire thing, because it literally is just a mishmash of all my favorite super random ways that I've been able to leverage the technology personally. And then we're going to look at prompts. So the entire emphasis of this, this generative AI phenomenon is based on prompts. So it's kind of the whole input-output phenomenon. You get out of it what you put into it. We'll talk a bit more about that. And then we're going to talk about challenges. How do you ask the right questions? And, what should we be looking at for the future? Kind of the unofficial title for this presentation is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because we will talk about a lot of the good stuff, but we're also going to talk about some of the concerns around ethics, copyright, and just, the fact that it can be wrong. So again, questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, come off mute, and if not, I will periodically poke my head in. But introduction. So this is not a very important slide, so I'm going to down for a second. That last bullet point is incredibly important. I am in no way, shape, or form an AI expert, and I cannot stress that enough, and I'll tell you why I always stress that. It's November 16th. This will be the 3rd presentation I've done on generative AI since October 30th, and it's going to be the 3rd different presentation I've done because the technology has changed so much in such a short period of time. I would not feel right coming in here and positioning myself as an expert to you guys. Simply what I am is a small business advocate, a small business champion. My formal title is managing lead of Digital Main Street. I'll talk about that in a second. But really, at the end of the day, it's just, I'm someone who's passionate about the topic, and especially with its impact on small business. But by no means would I consider myself an expert. So I just like to kind of start with that. I'm going to make a bunch of disclaimers throughout this presentation. That's just the first one. So Digital Main Street, if anyone's familiar, and I can't see everyone on the screen, normally I'd ask you to raise your hand, but if anyone's not familiar, we're a program, simply put, we help small businesses with digital transformation. We were created back in 2014 by our parent company, so TABIA, the Toronto Association of Business Improvement Areas, with direct support from the city. We've now expanded. We've got a network of corporate partners that support us. So you see the list there: MasterCard, Google, Shopify, Meta, QuickBooks, Square, Canada Post, eBay. We've had some others kind of over the 8-year span. But we're now a pan-Canada program, so we operate right across the country, both directly and indirectly. We have about 500 staff working on behalf of the program in every province and territory. And we have... See, I came into this all going, oh, because I was going to tell you we just passed 100,000 businesses supported. We haven't technically passed it yet. It should be tomorrow. I was really hoping. I was literally watching it like right up until I joined the Zoom. So we're about to pass 100,000 businesses that we've supported, which is, it's just pretty cool. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Digital Main Street doesn't charge for anything. So all of those businesses, we've never charged for anything. It's a free platform. It's a free resource. They can, we provide training, we provide guidance, all that kind of stuff, but we never charge businesses. And sorry, someone came off mute. I don't know if that was accidental or a question. I just wanted... Okay. Second disclaimer. So you'll see here the first section, understanding generative AI. I want you guys to approach this with the mindset that this is an information session, not a training session. I'm not here to train you on, how to do a very specific topic leveraging generative AI. It's all about, aggregating the information in a way and presenting it in a way that makes sense without, without leaving stuff out. And that's why I call it the good, bad, and the ugly. We are going to look at, again, those ethical concerns and just look at some specific use cases around copyright and just, when things are allowed and when they're not allowed and all that. But again, information session, that's just the mindset I want you to take into this. And so I always start with a really, really cheesy joke. And so I always say, not a bad presentation title if anyone remembers it. And I always, where did it come from? Well, it came from one of our wonderful generative AI platforms known as ChatGPT. And this is probably about as basic of a use case as you can get. But if you want to start a presentation with a really, really cheesy but effective joke, there's no better way. So you'll see here, I simply just asked it. I said, I need a title for a presentation. And I'm doing it on AI. The audience is going to be small business owners and entrepreneurs. And you know what? In a very passionate, friendly tone, of course, Darryl, exclamation mark. Here's 5 potential titles. Take your pick. And so I did end up using that first one, harnessing generative AI. On the first slide, you guys saw that. And this deck will be shared too, so don't worry about any of that. You guys will have a full copy of it. What is it? Simply put, and I'm going to put the screen up as I chat, it's an artificial intelligence, and it's I go back and forth on how to describe this. I'm gonna take a new approach. It's essentially pattern recognition. If we want to boil everything down, it's a generative AI, which is a form of artificial intelligence. It generates new content, but it's based on analyzing patterns and structures from existing data that it's learned from. So if we really just kind of boil all of that away, we're looking at essentially a very, very advanced form of pattern recognition. And that's just a good way to kind of put that base level of understanding. There's really kind of, there's a whole bunch, but the 4 that we really focus on are text, visual, audio, and code. So text, you just saw an example of that. That's where you're going to get an input in a text format, an output in a text format. Visual can be images, videos, any of the sort. Audio are really, really interesting. So there's some voice applications to it, and there's also some music applications. And then code is really focused on web design and stuff like that. We're not going to touch on that specifically and would not recommend it other than maybe just asking it for a very simple one-off question. I'll be honest, though, I have not played with it enough to give you guys an educated opinion on the level of using a tool like this when it comes to generating code or anything like that. We don't focus too much on it. How is it different? And you know what? This kudos to my mother. She was the one that asked me this question. And so that was what inspired the slide. And I found this graph. So this is a graph of over 20 years. And I'm just hiding my Zoom. Oh, no, I hid the video. Sorry, 1 second. Hide floating media controls. This is a graph over 20 years. And you can just see, so it's got four kind of big buzzword technology things, right? AR, VR, 3D printing, the Internet of Things. Or sorry, AI, not AR. And so you look at everything else and you can kind of see they had their 15 minutes of fame, right? You look at virtual reality there, it peaked, kind of 2017. That's when it first started, the headsets, all that kind of stuff. But if you just look at the sheer volume of, peak popularity on Google for artificial intelligence, and you look at what happened in 22 and 23, it's indicative of what's to come. And obviously this hasn't been updated since March 2023, so I don't know if that kept going like this, if it teetered off, if where we stand, but I would guess that we're probably, we're probably still on that trajectory. But just the sheer volume, like we're talking, a 75% difference in search volume at peak capacity. And in such a short time. It's insane what we're seeing right now. And I love this quote, just because I think it speaks to the significance. So the CEO of Box, he just said, it's one of those rare moments in technology where you see a glimmer of how everything is going to be different. And I think that's a lot of what we try and focus on at Digital Main Street, is not just one specific aspect, one platform, one use case, et cetera. It's really just looking at it generally, how it's going to make us all more productive and, more efficient business owners. And, it's not going to completely change the way we do business. It's going to accentuate it in a lot of ways. And it's going to allow us again to learn in different ways and stuff like that. And we're going to talk about all of this. But again, I say this with my team a lot, like it's here. I had someone ask me why we're focused on as a technology. And it's like, well, look, there's 100 million people using it. 100 million people. And some other like just pretty powerful stats. So ChatGPT, which I always call I describe it as the Kleenex of generative AI. And what I mean by that is everyone knows Kleenex is a brand, but we're conditioned that when you reach for a tissue, most people say, can you hand me a Kleenex? Because we're just so synonymous with tissue paper and Kleenex. That's kind of what ChatGPT is becoming to generative AI, where it's that brand, it's that name, that recognition that everyone just has. But like, look at that, 1.7 billion visits in a month. I don't know what the population of the world is right now, but what is that? 25% of the world's population visited this site in October 2023. Microsoft's Bing Chat. So Microsoft owns a very large controlling stake in ChatGPT's parent company, OpenAI. It's in 169 countries, 100 million people. And again, both of these platforms, were the fastest to reach 100 million people. So when we look at just the impact and the scale and just the sheer, how this is happening, it's honestly, it's not hyperbole to say it's unlike anything we've ever seen before. So we're going to start with text. So they're very simple, and I'm just going to bring all the animations up. So again, ChatGPT, 100 million users. Why are my controls not moving? 2 months after launch. So in 2 months, 100 million people were using this platform. Like it's almost numbers that don't make sense. Like you expect to type those numbers into Excel and like it give you like a formula error or something like that. But ChatGPT, copy.ai, if anyone's used it, they're essentially generating human-like text based on inputs. I know it's a very simple way of explaining it, but you saw when I asked it for the title of my presentation, I'm giving it a text-based prompt and I'm inputting that, with a human tone and all this other kind of stuff. And it's generating an output, which is text-based. It has that human tone, and it's based on its analysis of data, its recognition of the patterns, its analysis based on what we're asking it, and we're going to get into that shortly too. You can use it for a lot of things. You can use it for brainstorming. You can create articles with it in theory. Highly recommend that anytime you have it create anything, you fact check it, you spell check it, you do all that. Social media posts, copywriting, research, strategy, translation, like learning a new topic. Two of my favorite things, I know we have a whole section on random use cases, but just while we're here, I love asking ChatGPT not to write things for me, but to help me make what I've written better. Writing is not my strong suit at all. Like at all. I cannot write to save my life. But I know what I want to say. So what I'll do is I'll write a paragraph about something and just put it in and say, here's a paragraph about X. Can you please make it sound better and tighten it up and shorten it without losing the meaning or the tone or whatever specific prompt I give it. And it works wonderful. And the other is I love just learning about, new topics, whether it's investments or finance or certain aspects of life where it's just like, I'll ask it, explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old. And it's actually kind of funny because it'll explain a very complex topic in a way like it's talking about like a kid with their toys and their blocks and stuff like that. So it's no matter who you are, what type of business you have, what you're looking to get out of this, you can derive value from this in some way, shape, or form. What is ChatGPT? So these controls keep popping up, sorry. So again, just to show you guys a real example while I'm talking here, I literally asked itself, what is it? Please explain to me what it is. The ironic thing is that you can see that as I typed out that question, that writing really is not my strong suit. And this was an older version of ChatGPT. It took a little longer. So you can see there it described itself as a program that can understand and respond to human language. It can answer questions, write stories, and have conversations with people. It uses advanced machine learning techniques to understand and generate text. So again, a very simple definition, but that's right from the machine's mouth. And that just shows you an example of how these text generators work, where the input is text and the output is text. Why can't I? Oh, hold on. Okay, so ChatGPT Pro. So like any organization, they hook you, they give you a free trial, and then they tell you there's a pro version and there's a monthly fee and there's all these advanced features. So I put at the top here, there's DALL-E, there's browsing and analysis, and there's custom GPTs. So essentially those are all just, think of them as add-ons to ChatGPT as a platform. So DALL-E is an image creation tool that you can use, and you can actually ask ChatGPT and you can prompt it with text and it will give you a visual output. So that's kind of that image generator that we talked about, where you're saying, hey, give me an image of X, and then it actually generates the image. Browsing and analysis, I've got a few examples we'll go over, but it can analyze text, it can analyze Excel files, it can do advanced research for you based on input. And then you can create custom GPTs, which are essentially your way of creating like an automated chatbot. And we're going to walk through an example here based on a very specific example that you give it with a specific purpose. So this is what ChatGPT looks like when you have a pro account and you log in. And so this is just showing how you can create a custom GPT, just for the sake of showing you guys the steps. And so they're in the deck, and then I'll show you a video of how it actually works. So you're going to go in, you can made by OpenAI. So you'll see these things here, data analysis, DALL-E, all these other things. You can go in and you can actually add on plugins. You can connect it to different tools. And you'll see here, so my colleague actually is the one that made these custom GPTs, we call them. And so you'll see there, he's got a restaurant finder and a business plan builder. So those are just two examples that he messed around with. And so again, he's looking to create this thing. So this is not asking for answers. This is working to kind of create this custom interface, we'll call it, for you to use it. So it says, hey, I'm here to help you build this. You can say something like X, what would you like to make? And then you put your message in. So we're going to be creating a business plan builder here. There's the name of it, there's the description, and then the instructions. So you'll see here, we're actually telling the system what we want it to do. As business plan builder, my role is to aid users in crafting detailed business plans. My guidance spans various sections of business plan, including XYZ. I am professional and precise, ensuring all critical aspects of planning are addressed. My goal is to help users create a comprehensive business plan draft available for download in their preferred format. It's a very, very detailed prompt, and we're going to go into prompts specifically, but it told it what the goal was. It told it what it was going to do. It almost gave it a role, like it gave it a personality: professional, precise. We're going to make sure critical areas are covered. And the more and the better that you prompt any one of these platforms, this is ChatGPT specific, whether it's DALL-E, whether it's Midjourney, any of the others we're going to talk about, the better your input, the better your output. I cannot stress that enough. And so you'll see now he's got kind of this, Lorenzo, my colleague, he's got this business plan builder. So assist with building a business plan. And you can ask it. So I actually made a video here. And I apologize. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. We'll share it right back because I think you're on mute, Ashley, if you're trying to talk to me.
Okay, sorry about that. It says, let's look at how a GPT
okay, so you
works.
you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. So the reason I stopped sharing my screen there is because I wanted to share with sound. So what we actually did is you're going to see this video and it's going to explain the whole custom GPT. But the other aspect to this is you're going to hear a very loud, deep voice annotating this video. That is not me. It's not my colleague. It was another generative AI tool that was used where we provided text-based input, and then it automatically created the audio file. So there's kind of like a 2-in-1 here. So I'm just going to play this quickly.
Let's look at how a GPT works. First, we go to Explore, then click on the Business Plan Builder. Next, by simply asking it what it can do, it responds with its preset abilities and knowledge areas. In this scenario, the GPT informs us that it can assist in creating a business plan. This includes conducting market research, financial planning, formulating business strategies, and then drafting the final proposal. An essential feature of the Business Plan Builder is its role in fostering critical thinking. It encourages users to thoroughly evaluate their business ideas, helping them identify and overcome any biases or assumptions they may have. That's it. My name is Maximus, and I'm an AI.
Okay, full disclosure, I hadn't watched that entire video for the first time until now. I didn't know there was an office meme at the end of it, so my colleague got me with that. But so again, the custom GPT was created, and I will say, you know, we picked the example of building a business plan because it's a very complex topic. And so even though it can tell you what to build and like maybe the areas that you should put into your business plan, if you don't understand and you haven't spoken to an expert, whether it's, you know, someone you know that's just successful in entrepreneurship, whether it's, you know, your local small business consultant, whoever it may be, you're still not going to know how to do those specific things. You're just going to know that you might need these 5 or 6 sections. So I talk a lot about how it's not going to necessarily replace key elements or a human element. It's going to accentuate them and just make it more efficient. And these are just some of the examples. So that's why we strategically pick some of these. Sorry, I saw you come off mute, Ashley.
There is a question. Sorry. So Althea is asking, what would you use a custom GPT for?
I've seen, so it's
Let's look at
hold on.
Let's look at
Let me just go there. It's a very good question. And this was, so I started this by saying this is the 3rd presentation I've given in 2 weeks and the 3rd different presentation. The thing that's different about this deck that you guys are seeing is the custom GPT section because it's so new. I think people are still trying to figure it out. I've seen a lot of people use it to be customer support tools for their website. I've seen people use them for, like you saw my colleague Lorenzo, the second one he created was a restaurant finder. So that's built on a database of analyzing like Toronto restaurants and stuff like that. It's very basic in the sense that like it's there to just be a very specific use case for you. What I will do, Thea, is I'll meet with my team tomorrow and I'll put together a bit of like a 5 or 6 kind of bullet point guide on like, you know, our favorite ways that people are using custom GPTs. I just don't want to misquote anything, but happy to follow up with that. Again, it's so new. That like there's people using them for things. I don't know if they're actually effective. So I don't want to even talk about them and mislead you guys or have you waste any time. I kind of talked about this already, but visual generators. So again, the input is still text-based. The output is an image. So one of the popular platforms that's external to ChatGPT is called Midjourney. It's all run through Discord. ChatGPT does have their DALL-E integration. But essentially, whether it's text or video, again, based on a text prompt, they're creating visual content that best matches your prompt. You can use it for entertainment's sake, just crafting funny images, whether it's of your family members, friends, whatever. You can use it for marketing, you know, inspiration. You can use it for research and design. And I think I have a good example coming up in a few slides. But audio generators, this is where things get a little bit scary. And if anyone's heard their family or friends talk about having an audible passcode for your family and friends, this is why. Because you can simulate anyone's voice with like with as much as I'm talking on this presentation right now, if somebody got their hands on it, I guarantee you they could simulate my voice to say anything they want. And when you may get a phone call from me in a week saying, you know, I need you to buy me a whole bunch of Apple gift cards, I promise you it's not me if that happens. But in theory, the technology does allow it. And again, they're primarily designed to convert text to speech so that you can, like with that video, you can create this narration and you can do all of this. But there are use cases, you know, when you look at music. And, you know, if anyone's a football fan, you know, Taylor Swift is dating a football player and everyone's been talking about how she's going to write a song. And there's been fake songs on the internet about how when she breaks up with them, that's what the song's going to be about. Oh, sorry. Oh, hold on. What is going on here? Being that I'm from Toronto, you know, I picked an example here with 2 Toronto musicians back, I want to say April. It was late spring, early summer. A songwriter had come out and he'd written a song and he used AI to make it sound like Drake and The Weeknd, 2 very popular artists, were performing the song. And hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people streamed this song before everyone found out that it was fake. And then there was even a phenomenon going around for a while where they were taking musicians' voices and having them sing other songs. So, you know, they were taking Frank Sinatra, for example, and having Frank Sinatra's voice and his tone and his style and his pace sing like a very, you know, R-rated hip hop song and stuff like that. And again, that's where kind of that, whether that's entertainment or not, I don't know where you classify stupidity, but there's just a whole bunch of different use cases and it's changing day by day.
Darryl, I do have another question here. Can we see some simpler examples? I think of the ChatGPT section when you were giving it prompts. Correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine.
Yeah. I've got a whole section on random use cases that are about as simple as they get and functional. The custom GPT section was brand new, so that's why it may seem a little overwhelming. We're going to get into stuff that's a lot more relatable, I promise. And I see someone just raise their hand, so if they want to come off.
So there was a question from Anna before that, just quickly. Are there any copyright issues with using AI generated images?
I'm not going to answer that question because there's a slide coming up that is going to answer that with 100% certainty. I promise you.
Perfect. And yes, Divine Figures, registered nutritious. If you want to unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Melissa, and on this topic that you're speaking about with the AI, I noticed that a lot of businesses are using it, say like a phone company, or they're saying, yes, they recognize your voice. Now, what if we don't agree to it? How do you address those concerns? Because I never asked for them to record my voice.
So I'm going to be honest and say that if I had the answer to that, I'd probably be a multimillionaire with the technology that I created to address this, and unfortunately not presenting to you guys tonight. The short answer is I don't think there is a definitive answer, and I think that's one of the scary things. Whether it's text, image, or your voice, it could be something like here's the thing. Like, yes, I've agreed to have this presentation recorded. That doesn't mean that I want anyone on this call to go and take it and input it into an AI system. But in theory, if somebody got their hands on it and they did it, it's kind of that like the genie's out of the bottle a little bit, unfortunately.
Right.
And that's kind of why I called it the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like there are a lot of ethical considerations. There's no other way to say it. And it is quite scary. And that's why, I've structured this presentation kind of the way I did. And we're going to get into some of those concerns because I don't find that enough people are talking about them. Honestly, even though we don't have all the answers, I think just, looking at things, there's a question about copyright, there's a question about this. Those are some of the things that people are not talking about enough.
Right.
So I will kind of keep this top of mind, and then I'll go through some of the ethical stuff that I have in here, and then we can kind of circle back if that makes sense, just towards the end.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem. I'm going to go through the small business section quickly because I'm not here to train anyone on how to use this for your business because I don't know your business. I'm still not an expert in this technology, but I looked at 3 kind of key areas where I think this makes sense. And so that's, marketing and sales, there's customer operations, and then there's what we've called research and development, but it could be, product design. It could be any kind of one of those variables, we'll call it. But all 3 of these areas, they're key to your business. They're going to go together. They're going to lead you towards success, depending on what type of business you have. And we're going to look at each one by one. So ironically, I'm in our office right now. We're right across the street from Hotel X, which is where this image is from. And so this is their menu board. So it's it looks complex, but it's a fairly basic generative AI in the sense that it's just a very nice visual representation of being able to ask simple questions. So you can go up and you can tap and you can say, hey, how do I get here? Or you can ask it a question and it'll give you some answers, but that's all just pulled from a platform like a ChatGPT. I don't know if this one is exactly using it. But so this is a very good example from a customer operations standpoint, of just creating a great experience and, relieving some stress from your staff and being able to streamline operations and stuff like that. The other thing that I talk about a lot is just personalization. So looking at handling inquiries, resolving complaints, order management, all that kind of stuff. Like there's ways that you can leverage, AI tools to help you with that, whether it's a chatbot on your website, whether it's, building out a knowledge base and just continually kind of building on that through, having AI generate some support articles, I should say, for you. And then looking at, data. I started this whole thing off by saying it's pattern recognition, it's analyzing data, it's doing all of this. How do you use that for your benefit? Are you analyzing your customers' behavior? Are you analyzing competitor data that you access legally? Just so I said that on the record. Are you analyzing purchase patterns? Like anything that it may be. But it's a very, very powerful tool for analyzing data almost instantly. I'll give you guys, again, a really, really random example, but I had a list of about 20,000 businesses of people who had signed up on our platform. And I was trying to identify their NAICS codes based on a very antiquated selection they had made. And as you can imagine, very, arduous process, especially with our system of 2 digits, 4 digits, 6 digits, etc. I just put the type of selection they had made, not the business name, not any confidential information, just put it all in there, thousands upon thousands of records. And in literally 2 minutes, I had the 2-digit and the 4-digit NAICS codes for every single one of those ones. So there are a lot of ways to just use it highly effectively in a very, again, meaningful way that again, none of you may have that specific use case, but there's going to be use cases you have that don't necessarily apply to me or anyone else on this call. And that's the cool thing about this tool is you're going to be able to use it as much or as little as you want. And you're going to be able to use it in different ways that make sense for you. There's not a one size fits all, and there doesn't need to be with tools like this. Research and development. So again, just super quickly, if anyone's familiar with Funko Pops, they're those little figurines in that image right there. They have celebrities, they have, musicians, they have actors, you name it. They have just, random ones, anything. So this platform actually leveraged generative AI to allow you to design your own very simply. So you'll see there, they just put, Funko style samurai, intricate details, cinematic lighting. The cinematic lighting was very important, clearly. But again, it just allowed them to generate their own image of what this would look like. And I will say, I have tested this specific ask out based on generating these Funkos in the style of specific individuals. I won't say who or, what field they're in, but it's quite amusing. So highly recommend it just for a good laugh, if nothing else. But again, it helps with, cost effective prototyping. Like it would have taken, well, me personally, it would have taken me 100 years to design that. There's not a chance in hell I would have been able to. But with a platform like this, you can just quickly look at something, is it worth it? Do you want to go down that route? What would it look like? Because you can order custom ones of these, but you have to design them. So now, you're actually enabling commerce where people can design their own and then send them off, have custom Funkos made, and, the business is still running like usual. But then again, we get into the little copyright issues, which we'll talk about, I believe, in a couple slides. Marketing and sales. So I keep this very concise because of the whole copyright thing and of the fact that, like, again, you heard that voice. I don't think anyone on the Zoom, and I can't see it, but I don't think when I played that video of the custom GPTs, I don't think anyone believed that was a real person. And we purposely did that to pick, like, one of the worst, least believable voices we could pick. But that human element is not there. And as smart as it is, and as quick as it is at analyzing data and analyzing these patterns and all this kind of stuff, it can't think like we can. It can't look at something and think critically. It plays in zeros and ones. It's black and white. It doesn't have that ability to work in the gray, and that's both a strength and a weakness. And the key message to you guys is understanding how to work with these tools now that you know that.
Darryl, I do have
Yep.
a couple questions here.
Yeah.
If there is a lot of incorrect content being created by AI, how can we verify that the output we ask it to create is accurate?
I think it depends on what you're asking it. Because if you're asking it for something specific where the information, then I would encourage you, to read it through and fact check it yourself. If you're asking it to browse articles on the internet or something like that, I don't know that there is much you can do unless you go and read the articles yourself and kind of trace it all the way back. But that is, and again, I talk about that in a little bit. It's commonly called an AI hallucination, where it can be essentially a false positive. And again, it thinks it's doing the right thing because it learns from data that's ingested to it. So every single piece of data that's put in these platforms, it learns more from it. But if we're putting in incorrect data, eventually it's going to learn from incorrect data, and it's going to start, it's going to have to relearn and stuff like that again. So there's not, again, a one size fits all answer, unfortunately, a silver bullet where you can guarantee that, something is accurate. That's why it's like, huge asterisks. I know this is next. I just only have 2 arms, but huge asterisks of, like, make sure you read everything through. Don't just blindly have it write a piece of content for you and put it out. There still needs to be that human element. And that's why I say a lot, it's going to do things faster for you. It's going to ensure you to be more efficient and, scale faster, but you still need to be involved. You have to fact check it. You have to look at it. You have to make sure there's no spelling mistake. And there's some pretty brutal examples of where it's gotten things wrong. And I have some slides on them coming up. And I think you said there's one more.
Yes. I'm not sure if this is coming up as well, but are you able to show us how to create an image? I'm most familiar with text.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
So it's coming up. Okay. So sorry. The one thing I just wanted to do here was 73% of marketers, because that's the other thing. Like, there's a lot of taboo stuff about who uses this, who doesn't, all this kind of stuff. They did a survey. I know it's in the States, but I think from a statistically relevant standpoint, it still applies. 73% of marketers in a corporate marketing role admitted to using these at work. So the people who are responsible for ads and billboards and this and all that kind of stuff, they've admitted to using this. It doesn't dive into how specifically, whether it's just for inspiration, actually work product, whatever. But 3 out of 4 marketers are now admitting that they're using these tools. Like it's here to stay. And that's why, we're focused at Digital Main Street on how do we embrace it? How do we work with small business owners to ensure that they're working with it effectively and in a way that's going to allow them to succeed, but well being aware of the limitations and some of the concerns and stuff like that. So I picked content creation specifically, and I just did 5 random examples here of how you can use ChatGPT specifically, which is only one platform. I do just want to stress that, to help you with content creation. So research. So you'll see here, just please help me research 5 popular content topics among people that shop frequently at stores. So it says releases, shoe care and maintenance, shoe trends, shoe reviews, shoe sizing. Now, hopefully some of you are looking at that and going, Jesus, that is basic. And I probably could have came up with that myself. I did that on purpose because that's an incredibly generic prompt. All I said is just people that shop at shoe stores, give me 5 topics. So like when you think about it with that lens, it actually works based on exactly what you put into it. Input equals output. Just keep remembering that. That's the key formula for this presentation. If I was to write, please help me research 5 popular content topics around millennial females, specifically aged, 25 to 30 that are looking to buy their next pair of shoes, located in Toronto. It might, and I haven't done this exact prompt because I change it every time I present this, but it will give different answers. I just don't know exactly what it's going to spit out because you're giving it more specificity. You're telling it to focus on a specific audience. Are they looking for different things? Are they not? You name it. But this is a very generic prompt. We got a very generic answer. Doesn't mean it's not wrong or not valuable. It's just, again, that whole input equals output. Improving existing content. For me, probably my single favorite thing to do with this platform because I can't write. So you'll see here. Below is a description of my organization. I'm not going to read it all. You guys can just read it quickly. But I just said improve it and provide 2 variations. And so what it wrote is essentially the exact same thing. Same meaning. It talks about the same thing. It uses a lot of the same words. It's just both of those options sound a hell of a lot better than what I wrote. And that's why I love it, because it's me putting my thoughts down and trying to explain exactly what's going on up in here. It's just making it sound better. It's just putting some polish and some lipstick on it. That's really all from my perspective in these specific use cases, because I'm feeding it all the information that I wanted to build a constructive paragraph around.
Darryl, quick question. Is this using the free version?
This is.
Okay.
I believe the reason I hesitated, I have a paid account just for my own exploration, but I'm 99.9% sure you can do this on the free version. Generate titles, summaries, and even entire articles. We're not going to go through an entire article, but again, 5 blog posts about digital transformation trends businesses should care about. So as my team was thinking about some content, hypothetically, we use this to help come up with some titles just based on analysis, trends, you name it. Create video scripts. So this one was pretty cool. And this was a colleague's idea. I will give credit where credit's due. So they said, generate 5 creative TikTok video scripts for promoting a vegan bakery's product line. And I just like how, well, one, I've never written a script in my life, so I didn't know what went into it. But to actually see it break it down where it's like opening shot, voiceover, scene 1, voiceover. And this may not be perfect. The other thing I want to stress, input equals output is the first one, is take a lot of the stuff that you can get from this platform as a template. Use it as a foundation. So everyone on here has their own business. They have their own interests, different areas, all that kind of stuff. Like this script, even for this vegan bakery, may not make sense, but it's giving you a foundation. Copy and paste that into Word, and then go and put your business's voice in there. Put your brand, talk about it the way that you want to talk about it. But now you've got a template. And that's one of the other reasons. I know I have a whole section on things I love, but I'm spoiling it a little bit, is creating templates, whether it's policies, whether it's scripts, whether it's this, you name it. Just yesterday I submitted a session description for a conference in Alberta that we go to, and I had written out the description, but I didn't write it in the exact format that they wanted in terms of sections. So I put my entire description into ChatGPT and I said, can you rewrite this into 3 sections, an abstract, objectives, and then key learnings? And it took what I had written, which was, it had all of it in there, but in one big blurb, and it broke it down into 3 things with nice bullet points and everything else like that. And then what do we got last here? Sorry, my controls are blocking it again. SEO support. So something that we're always very cognizant of. But again, I picked this example because if you're like me, I have a basic understanding of SEO. And, I know these are probably good long tail keywords for me to use if I'm a home improvement store, but that's about as far as my knowledge goes. How do I use those keywords? Where do I take this from here? What do I actually do? I don't know. And so that's why I don't think it's going to replace necessarily the need to work with somebody or have somebody on staff that knows how to do this stuff. It just makes things easier. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Somebody could have done this very easily. There's probably somebody on this call that can do this, but again, it just makes it faster and more accessible. No graphic design experience. Oh, no problem. We had a question about art, so here we go. So I focus on Midjourney. It's a very, very interesting platform. So it's based on it's run on Discord. If anyone's ever used Discord for chat, or if anyone got into the NFT space when that was happening, Discord was very popular. But again, so Midjourney's all run through Discord, and it's completely open source, which is very, very interesting. So every query you put into it, you don't have your own private channel. So if all of us on this call are in Midjourney, and I say, hey, I need to do image of XYZ doing this, blah, 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 you're all going to see that I asked it to generate that image, and you can literally just go and take that image. And that ties into the copyright, which we're getting into, but it's very, very fascinating. You can do things, you can create images for your blogs, you can bring art concepts to life. You can produce marketing campaigns in theory. I still believe that, best bet is using it for inspiration and then still working with experts and, really fine tuning that and making sure your brand is represented, but you can absolutely do it. Visuals for your website, generate image to use on your products. I've talked to a lot of restaurant owners, or, I talked to a chiropractor that sells t-shirts, and they used Midjourney to design the image that was going to go on their next t-shirt release, and just stuff like that. So there's so many use cases. So throughout kind of the narrative of this presentation, my colleague is not here, but we built a fake business together. So we're launching a coffee shop in Toronto. And so just showing you guys a couple slides on how we used the generative AI to kind of help our business. So this obviously is us looking for a logo. So you'll see lots of great options here and stuff like that. One of the things I want to point out, which you guys have probably noticed, is I don't think there's a single English word on this entire image. And that's because the image-based AI generators are strictly that, they're images. They're not analyzing the text yet. So when you look at that, we know this is supposed to say coffee, like we know that's supposed to say cafe right there probably, and that's supposed to say certified, I would assume, but it doesn't, because it's not creating these images based on analyzing the text. So when you're working with AI-based image generators, you're going to have a very hard time when it comes to text, because it just does not always register. Sometimes you'll get lucky. Other times, again, you'll see here, like, again, I don't think there's a single English word on this entire thing, but some beautiful logos to pull inspiration from. And then after that, guess what? I talk about inspiration. We're not coming in slow. We're coming in hot. We're going billboards on the DVP kind of thing, or the gardener, I should say. And so this is the inspiration. Again, zero English on these slides because it's just for inspirational purposes. But you'll see it literally just created 4 potential. And again, these were very simple inputs, and we'll get into this. But again, just from an inspiration standpoint, here's what 4 billboards for my brand new coffee shop could look like. This is probably my favorite. These are all AI generated images of coffee shops. So when we were talking about designing our image, our store, we wanted, a lot of windows, a lot of bright light, a lot of open spaces, a lot of greenery. So we asked Midjourney to design 4 renderings for what our coffee shop could look like. These are AI generated images that were generated in probably less than 90 seconds with very, very simple prompts. Like, I know they look like incredible, detailed, all this kind of stuff. These are still on the lower end of the spectrum of what these platforms can design and implement for beginners very, very easily. Well, I guess this answers the question. AI art, as of right now, cannot be copyrighted. So you'll see here during the summer, and again, time for another disclaimer from Darryl. This could have changed. It literally could have changed today. It could have changed yesterday, and I just may have not caught up on it yet. So disclaimer that, please just, check out Google, check the news section, and just make sure this hasn't changed. But this was August 18th, so it was pretty recent. A federal U.S. judge confirmed that it can't be copyrighted. And they cited that IP law has long said copyrights are only granted to works created by humans, which creates a whole nother set of questions and rabbit hole of, like, Are you creating it by putting the prompt in? Are you not creating it? We're not going to get into that. But generally speaking, from my standpoint right now, based on what I've read, AI art cannot be copyrighted. And that's why a lot of these platforms like Midjourney, I mentioned it being open where everyone can see everyone's designs. And that's because there are no copyright concerns. And what you'll notice too, and I don't know if anyone's asked this, but like if you go into ChatGPT or DALL-E or Midjourney or any of this, and you say, hey, show me a picture of, Keanu Reeves wearing a Toronto Maple Leaf shirt, it's not just going to take his face and put it in a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. It's going to go and analyze his face, and it'll give you, probably a Caucasian male with long black hair, but it's not going to look anything like him because they innately will not allow you to do things based on like people or brands or whatever. Another, if you want to test this out, is input an image into ChatGPT or something of a famous person and say, who is this? 99.9% of the time, it's going to come back and it's going to say, I can't analyze this image. I'm not allowed to share personal information, blah, 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 blah. So again, not perfect, but from an inspiration standpoint, you can generate a ton of cool art. I got a few more examples of that. So this is one of my favorite examples because this all happens so fast. And when I talk about this industry changing literally like this, so we go back to our two favorite Toronto artists here. That song was submitted for a Grammy. And if you're like me, you're going, okay, well, how the hell could it be submitted for a Grammy if they didn't actually perform the song? So fun fact, it turns out, just from any music buffs here, that songwriters can actually apply for Grammys too. So the songwriter sent it in for Grammy consideration on the basis of it being creatively whatever. So the CEO of the Recording Academy came out and said that from a creative standpoint, it was absolutely eligible. And in less than 72 hours, guess what? No bueno. Not eligible for a Grammy. And again, this is all in 3 days. And then he came out, and this is the exact quote. Let me be extra, extra clear. Even though it was written by a human creator, the vocals were not legally obtained. The vocals were not cleared by the label or the artist, and the song is not commercially available. And because of that, it's not eligible. This was so fascinating to me, not just because I'm a music buff, but also this is a great example of like we're watching how technology is changing our day-to-day lives almost in real time. Like, I don't think any of us on this call are going to be winning a Grammy anytime soon. And if anyone has, I apologize. But like it literally in a 72-hour window, we saw it go from the CEO saying absolutely it's eligible to going, oh shit, no, not eligible. And here's why, and having to backtrack. And I don't necessarily blame them. It's one of those things, like, you just don't know. It's never come up. Like, never in history has there been a song that's just had a machine put someone else's voice on it and then be submitted for an award. It just doesn't happen. Random use cases. Okay, my favorite section, because these have nothing to do with small business. There's no organization. There's no rhyme or reason to any of these examples we're going to go through, except for the fact that I use them in my day-to-day life, and I love them. They do have, like, you can use them within your business, but they are just all ones that I use or love personally. So if anyone uses Excel or Google Sheets in your day-to-day life, unless it's a full-time job, you're probably like me and you forget formulas. Great place to go to just ask it for formulas. And you don't even have to know what the formula you're looking for is. Like, you'll see here, I took this image from another presentation, but Google Sheet formula, which copies all rows from sheet 1 where column A contains the word iPhone. So you're literally explaining in text, I want to pull a formula that's going to do this and analyze this column and output this. And then it tells you the formula and it explains it too. This is an absolute lifesaver, both personally and professionally. I do use this at work all the time. Not to bug our data analysts. I use it at home all the time. Again, a very simple, non-material example of just how this makes our lives immediately easier. Analyze and summarize information. So Lorenzo, my colleague, again, couldn't be with us today, but he put this example together. For those of you who have ever seen it on social media or whatever, they do a big series in Toronto called The Best Of, where they ask a local chef their favorite pizzeria, their favorite this, and this, and they compile it all. So there's this Excel file of like all these chefs' recommendations of the best of in Toronto, the best pizza, the best burger, the best sushi, etc. There's a lot of data to go over. And then, do you trust someone's opinion? Do you want to look en masse? So what Lorenzo did is he put that spreadsheet into ChatGPT, and you see the query here. Review the document and summarize the top places to eat based on frequency. Make sure to count multiple recommendations separated by commas as individual recommendations. And so you'll see it literally shows you finished work, finished work, finished work, finished work, and then boom. Pizzeria Badiali was top 15 recommendations, burger drops, and then a few businesses that I can't say the name of, so I'm not going to try. But It's just, again, super simple. And this probably took 45 seconds from uploading it to getting that answer. So instead of you looking at this Excel, and even if you're capable of it, I don't think that's the conversation to have with this one. It's more so it's streamlining it. It's making you more efficient. It's making you able to just do things easier. And then he took it a step further, asked it a follow-up question, said which cafes were most recommended. And then you see here, this cafe 3, this cafe 2, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you even see here, note that the numbers indicate the frequency with which each cafe was recommended by chefs in the document. You know, not going to win any awards. It's not going to win the Nobel Prize for the best example ever used in this. It's, it's not going to solve the world's problems, but, for Lorenzo, who's a foodie and goes out, with his partner 2-3 times a week, this is a great way to streamline how they pick restaurants based on, top chefs in the city's recommendations. And I have been asked before, if anyone's interested, when we share this presentation, I will share that spreadsheet of restaurants. It seems like at least one person asks every time, so it's just become normal that we share it with the presentation. So everyone will get a copy of that too. I hinted at this at the start. I wouldn't recommend it because I haven't dove deep enough to be able to recommend it. But with basic website updates, if you already have a functioning website, it's wonderful. So I was trying to put an image on our website within an article, and I just could not get the padding to work out. And I have basic HTML knowledge, like I understand how to manipulate things and all that. I just couldn't figure it out. So I put the exact code in there, and I just said, I need to add extra padding to the right of this image. Here's the code. What am I missing? And it just says, you can see it. You can add extra padding by adding this property to the style attribute, etc. Here's an example. And it gives you the code. It's not like it says, here's how you do it. Good luck. It literally says, just copy it. And you see the button, copy code. You just hit copy, go and put in your article, and then the image was perfect. So again, with very basic updates like this, where you're not going to go and call your colleague, or, you're not necessarily going to go to a web developer for a simple question like this because you already have your full website. It's not going to replace those tools, but it allows you to maintain your website and just, make these simple upgrades and fixes and posts and stuff yourself. Best practice templates. I use that word a lot. So this example is a healthcare social media policy. So if anyone, sees a chiropractor or a physiotherapist, you may or may not know, but they have very, very strict policies. My best friend in the world is a chiropractor. I've offered many times to allow him to post content of me on social media and all that. There's incredibly strict guidelines through their college around what they can do and what they can't do because of patient privacy. So you'll see here, it just said, purpose of the policy, the scope, the applicability, general guidelines, all that. This is not going to be 99 times out of 100 is not going to be perfect for a business right out of the box. But it gives you the entire foundation of a policy, and then you can work backwards and you can fill in your business information. You can put in stuff that's specific to you. I love using these platforms to create templates. It just makes things faster, and it gives you that baseline to work from. And so you're not starting at 0, maybe you're starting at 50, just for the sake of an analogy. Help with everyday tasks by analyzing images. So I put the link for this one just because there's more examples on there, but just a really, really cool example. So in the last probably 6 weeks, I'd say, ChatGPT added the ability to put images into the platform, and they will analyze images. So I don't have an example of this, but if anyone is like me and you're on the move and you may or may not like cooking, but you just don't have a ton of time, you can literally open your fridge, stand back, take a picture, upload it to ChatGPT and say, analyze the ingredients in my fridge and let me know some simple recipes that I can make with these ingredients. And you will be amazed at what this thing pops out. It's unbelievable. It really is. But this one specifically, it's not my image. That's why I linked it. Guy put a picture of his bikes. It helped me lower my bike seat. You'll see it gave a whole series of directions on how to lower the bike seat. Takes it a step further and says, literally took a closer image and edited it to draw the circle and say, is this the lever? And so ChatGPT analyzed that that's what he meant and was looking at and said, no, that's not a lever. It's a bolt. You're going to need an Allen wrench, blah, blah, blah. And then here's where it just gets to a level where you're like, my God. And again, I'm a millennial. I am absolutely useless. I'm good with computers, useless with tools. So this would be me, even though it wasn't. Took a picture of the instruction manual and his toolbox and said, here's the manual, here's my toolbox. Do I have the right tool? And you'll see the response. It literally says, in the left of your toolbox, there's a set labeled DeWalt, which is right here. And you're going to need to find the 4mm Allen key. Use this to loosen the bolt. So again, this is a very rudimentary example, but just think about the ways that you could use this in your day-to-day life where professionally, personally, you can put images and have it analyze it, give you feedback, etc. You want to help your kids with their homework. So I feel like, and I did a presentation on Tuesday at George Brown College, so I feel like I got to make the same disclaimer. I'm on the record saying I'm not advocating for anyone in any way, shape, or form to cheat. Yes, this platform, and you'll see the examples, makes it very, very easy. But why I want to talk about this is more so about how you can use a tool like this personally and professionally to learn. So for any topic that you want to learn, you basically have an on-demand 24/7 tutor that knows every single thing that is on the internet. And if you can use it properly, it's incredibly powerful. So here's an example of maybe how not to use it. Now I'm going to assume this was a parent trying to help their kid and not a kid just trying to get the answers to their homework, but you'll see it literally just put the thing up and said, give me the answers. And then there's the answers to those math problems. I will say, full disclosure, and I'll admit this, I have a family friend, has a young daughter, was trying to help her with her homework, and it was long division. And I don't know about you guys, but if you haven't done long division in a while and you try and now go through it, I had no clue. And I'm not saying this for laughs or for sympathy. I had literally no clue how to do it. So I did this exact same thing, but I said, show me how you got to the answer so I could kind of remind myself of it. And it's the way it is. Here's a really, really cool example too. So if anyone went, in high school, you had to learn about the cell, the nucleus, all those wonderful parts. This just said, I'm a 9th grade biology student and I'm really struggling. Can you help me understand this? And so what it did, and at the link, there's actually a video, but he basically did it in 3 parts. So ChatGPT came back and said, let's break down the parts. So it went through all 18 parts that are listed there, and it gave it a very simple description. Follow that up with a question that said, I still don't understand. Can you find a way to make it relatable to just, a common theme? So it created an analogy around a municipality in the cell. And it said, oh, the nucleus is City Hall, this is this, etc. And then at the end of that, the next prompt from this student in question was, okay, can you please ask me a series of questions where the answers will be a part of the cell? So now, instead of doing your own flashcards or doing it yourself where, it's just not interactive, you've got an on-demand tutor that's asking you questions that you can answer. And if you get it right, it'll let you know. And if you get it wrong, then it'll explain why you were wrong and it'll explain what the answer was. So just that whole future of learning aspect, again, hopefully everyone can see the personal and the professional in here, where it's, if you professionally want to learn about cybersecurity, ask it questions about that. If you want to learn about finance, if you want to learn about, whatever, then ask it about that. I asked it to teach me about stock options as if it was a 5-year-old, and it started comparing it to like losing my toys and stuff like that. It was quite humorous, but I would stress, really zeroing in on this. I'm very, very bullish on the future of learning using these technologies. Prompts. So I'm going to fly through this next section because it's going to be served, and I just checked the time. So prompts are the foundation. It's the information you feed into it. I've talked about it. The most important thing here, how well you can prompt defines value. You get input equals output. If you take away one thing from this entire ramble that I gave, input equals output. So here's an example of me prompting it again. Can you give me a few examples? And it gives me the examples. So there's the prompt, there's the answer or the output. Prompting it to create more specific content. So again, just showing this so you can see that the more specific you get, the better your answer is going to be. So this is, I'm working at an electronic music nightclub. They want to attract young audiences. Please list some related needs that these audiences have. So it's told it what it wants to do, but then it gets more specific. For each need, just 2 ways I could position it and market it to this audience. And then please give each need and marketing suggestion a catchy title and emoji. So you'll see a very specific prompt. You put more into it, and look what you get out of it. You get your needs, you get your emojis, you get the ways that you can position your nightclub for that audience. Things to consider: start with the who, provide as much context and instruction as possible. Suggest the length and format of the response you're looking for. Provide additional examples and template it can follow. Refine, refine, refine. The beautiful thing about this system, you can literally talk to it. You can give it a prompt. It gives you an output. You don't like it, you can go back and say, can you please rewrite this as X? Can you please, rewrite this as if you're a Harvard educated marketing professor? Can you please do this? Like, you can continually go back and have a live conversation with it until you get what you want. Don't just take that first output as exactly what you have to have with it. Question to ask yourself: have you defined the role for ChatGPT to play? It's great at role playing. You can tell it to act as a certain thing. You can tell it to act as, a 5th grade teacher. You can tell it to act as, a biology teacher, whatever you really want. What is the prompt? Is it detailed enough? Have you defined the ask and what you're looking for from it? And then have you clarified all the areas you want it to pull information from? So you can ask it to scour the internet. You can ask it to, cite any research papers that it has in its database and its repository. You name it. So sample of mid-journey prompts. So these are some images. So somebody wanted to see like specific examples of prompts. So these are legitimate ones that I've done. So terrifying reflections in a beautiful lake. AR, so aspect ratio 16:9. This was the first image, and that's what I got. So not bad. I wouldn't necessarily say it's terrifying, but again, very basic prompt, first image, not bad. I want a little bit more bonkers here. So high National Geographic symmetrical close-up portrait shoot in Arctic snow of an expressive polar bear playing with another bear and a ball. Anamorphic lens, ultra realistic, et cetera, et cetera. That's a fake image. Again, there's only one polar bear, so I don't know if it's assuming that like the other one is facing it. I'm not sure, but again, still a hyper realistic image. And then I was trying to get like a Mufasa scar type thing here with a really angry lion with bright blue eyes. Gave me a great image, but again, I said bright blue eyes, it put blue around the eyes, like again, small things like that where it's just like it's not perfect. And this is the section that I really wanted to get to. So navigating challenges and concerns. It has its limitations. So look at this image. So Microsoft's AI put out an AI written travel guide. So it put out like a 50-page thing saying, here's all the spots you should see in hotspots, whatever. It labeled the Ottawa Food Bank as a tourist destination because it's analyzing the patterns in the data. And unfortunately, we've seen the news, there's more Canadians than ever using food banks, but it doesn't have the ability as a technology and, as not having that human element to empathize and look and go, this is just not right. Like, yes, there's a lot of people going there. That is accurate, but it's not a tourist destination. And again, you'll see here, so content may be outdated or false, AI hallucinations, avoid entering sensitive or confidential information. Anything you provide to the system, it's going to train itself on that. So like with our team, we have a no tolerance policy, no confidential information, no client information, there's no gray area. Like you can ask it stupid questions, you can learn about the cell, you can do all that, but you're not putting any sensitive information in there. We actually have a policy, everyone has signed it, etc. I would very much be an advocate for that side of it. Like only black and white, no gray area there. It's just no sensitive or confidential information. I know a lot of companies are actually banning it altogether just because it's easier to police that way as opposed to try and just hope people aren't going to put sensitive information in. Again, here's this. Whether they win or not, I think is still TBD, but a group of writers is suing it over copyright claims. So, there's claims here around intellectual property and the fact that it's infringing on their copyright. Maybe it's analyzing their works and then, creating other stuff. There's been times too where I've seen it exhibit discrimination. I'm obviously not sharing those examples, but it's, I've seen it be toxic. I've seen it, almost be offensive. I'm going to assume it wasn't just pissed off with the questions I was asking it, but you got to be careful. Adapt to I used to say revolution, we changed it to dynamic evolution, but Canada's launch as voluntary code for the conduct, promote responsible and ethical use within your business, have these conversations with your staff, don't shy away from it. Like the technology is here, I cliche again, genie in the bottle kind of thing. We're not getting it back in the bottle. Like it's already out. There's 1.7 billion people a month going to these websites to use this technology. And it's going to improve over time. That's only natural. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. And you'll see here just kind of the trends and just, kind of showing you a bit of a heat map on what industries are using the tools and stuff like that. And then the conclusion. So just quickly, here's kind of the four main things. It doesn't replace the human element. Look at it as a way to supplement what you're already doing, accentuate it, make your life easier, scale quicker, just be more efficient. Prompts are crucial. Cannot stress that enough. Input equals output. Spend your time when you're learning these platforms, how to input properly, play around with it, just have fun. But understand the limitations. So everything from accuracy to lack of emotional intelligence, those AI hallucinations, the false positives, privacy concerns, all of these things, if you're going to really invest time in learning these tools and about them, you have to be cognizant about all of this. It's not a question of if, you absolutely have to be. What is the best approach? I get asked this question a lot, so we added this slide in too. I know it's a little bit redundant, but think about how you can use it. Is it going to help you analyze, sales data? Are you going to draft emails? Are you just going to, what tool are you going to use? We had a question about art. So if you're looking for images, obviously Midjourney or DALL-E, etc. If you're looking for text-based, ChatGPT. Experiment. We put here 15 hours. There was no logic behind that number. I'll be honest, we picked a random number. It just seemed like the right kind of thing. Understand its capabilities, test it for everything that you want to use it for. What is that output? All that kind of stuff. And review it. How are you using it? How is your business using it? How are your staff using it? Are your policies intact? Have they decided that it now is copyright, infringement if you generate AI art? And then do your policies change to capture that, all that kind of stuff? And then again, just use it legally and use it ethically. And that's ultimately what it's going to come down to for you guys as successful business owners and entrepreneurs. And then I'm not going to go over this all, but I just put together a bit of a list of some of the tools that we've used and the different kind of categories they fall into: content generation, image, music, and voice, chat and customer service, video creation, data intelligence, etc. And then I put all the sources for articles that I've read and stuff that I've referenced in here as well too. So I went through that last section quickly. I apologize. I realized I was getting close to time, and I wanted to leave the opportunity for anyone to ask questions. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say one more example, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If anyone has seen on Zoom, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a little button. Maybe I can only see it because I'm a co-host. I don't know. But Zoom has an AI companion. We don't have it on in this meeting, just for full disclosure. But you can actually turn it on in Zoom, and it will essentially listen to what you're saying. Again, whether that's good or bad for everyone to decide themselves. But then it puts a little bar on the side of Zoom, and it's 3 options. It says, catch me up. It says, was my name mentioned? So if you're not listening, you can have it tell you if your name was mentioned. And then what are the action items? So if you're in like a very long meeting and you've talked about a whole bunch of stuff and you think you might have missed some notes, like and it's just, that's happened. CRM platforms are bringing in AI to help you explain what reports are and why workflows are doing certain things. It literally is coming into every aspect of our lives, personally and professionally. And that's why we're so bullish on making sure we try and educate the best we can by talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that is the end of my ramble, and I'm happy to answer a whole bunch of questions.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to open the chat here. I think the only question I saw that wasn't addressed earlier, let me see. Is it helpful in writing grants?
Well, that's a loaded question. Only because our friends from BACD are here. If you're in their starter company program, it guarantees 100% acceptance if you write your application with ChatGPT. And I'm joking because they're going to kill me. I would say that I probably would not trust it to write it for you at all. And that's just my personal opinion. I have nothing to back that up. But if you're writing it and you're not a strong writer like me, and you're trying to have it, improve and just kind of analyze what you're writing and just make it better, absolutely it can help. But I don't think I would be an advocate in any way, shape, or form for it to actually write it for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Also, feel free to unmute yourself. I don't know if I missed one.
I'm scrolling through quickly. Okay, so I will put this in the chat for everybody. If you're interested at all, I would encourage you to check out digitalmainstreet.ca. We've got courses, we've got events, we've got one-on-one support. The team at BACD does a great job of supporting entrepreneurs through Digital Main Street in the Durham region. But I put our generic email in there. Please feel free to drop us a note. If you want to reference the fact that this presentation happened, just so you can remind me kind of where we met. Then that would be great. I'm just quickly scrolling through. In this example, use a free platform. Image almost similar to text next year. Yeah, I honestly, guys, like don't be scared of it, please. And I know we're over time, so final thought: don't be scared of AI. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Here's the thing: you can spend 10 hours working on it. You can spend 1,000 hours. It really is just going to come down to what you want to do. Ease yourself into it. Screw around with the platforms. Play with ChatGPT for no real reason other than just getting it to give you stupid answers to questions, so you can start to understand how it responds to your inputs, and then just continually build from there. And look at ways that you can add it to your business, and look at ways that you can do certain things with it. And again, you know what? I will, in a show of full transparency. So in the last so in the last 7 days, here are some of the things that I've asked ChatGPT to do. I've asked it to create a virtual event brief for me based on information. I've asked it how many days were between April and November 2023, because I was trying to do a calculation. I've asked it to search and summarize an Excel document. I asked it to generate an image for me, or a couple images. I took a picture. Now this didn't work too well, but I thought it was a great idea at the time. I had something leaking from my car. And so I took a picture of it and I put it into the system and it analyzed it and it gave me an answer, but it basically just said that I had to go to the mechanic. But it's like anything like that. Like I've had colleagues that have, you know, had a daughter with a rash on her arm and took a picture of the rash and said, you know, I know you're not a doctor. I'm not looking for medical advice, but based on, you know, searching the internet, can you give me a sense of what this might be? And sorry, I see there's a hand up, please.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I think I saw you put something in there and it wrote you like a script or something. It like, so just wondering about like writing a script for like a TV show.
Yeah, I honestly I would try it with the thing. So I think my prompt was, and I can go back quickly. I think it was write a script for a TikTok video introducing a new product from a vegan bakery.
Yeah, something along those lines. I thought you said that.
Yeah, so you'll see it in the deck, but you play around with it because you can put all that input in there and you'll get different stuff out of there. I'll be honest, I have no idea if you ask
Okay.
it to write a TV show what you're gonna get.
Okay, cool.
But I do know that, like, and again, be very specific. So I talked about like asking it exactly what you want. So
Okay.
that's at a TikTok video. So it knows it's a short form, it knows it only needs to be this long, it knows it's a certain type of platform, so it needs to be visual, all that kind of stuff. So just be very descriptive with it and just play around with it.
Okay, cool.
Like no
Thanks.
harm, no foul. It may just give you an outline that you can use and then go fill in yourself. But like, no matter what the scale of how it can help you, it's going to be able to help. I just don't want to say, oh yeah, it's going to write the show for you, and you know you're going to win an Academy Award next year, and we're going to be talking about how we met you at Do It in Durham week, right?
I'll be sure to mention your name.
Hey, I got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 12 witnesses that heard that. Okay, just being cognizant of time. Final call out for questions. My email's in the chat. We will get a copy of the deck and everything off to you guys. And then if you need anything from there, please just reach out. But always happy to have a conversation about this. And last just kind of thing is be careful. There's a lot of people out there that are claiming to be experts in this space that are going to try and sell you courses or their technology or something. Some are going to, it's like any tech, you know, any hardware, software, whatever. Some are going to be good, but we're so early on in this. That's why I'm just very careful to not, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just somebody who's passionate about it, has used it a lot. And that's why hopefully you saw I'm very careful with how I present certain topics and say certain things. Just be careful would be my last kind of parting advice. And other than that, thank you again, Ashley and BACD team and the city of Whitby and everyone for allowing me to come and chat with you guys tonight. And thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Thursday night, honestly.